Hello again, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you weren't here earlier, I'm Mike McMullen, President of the Chamber. Our 100-year anniversary. This is like one of the last times we're going to be able to say that in the 100 years. So how about a round of applause for 100 years for the Chamber? I'm going to turn things over very soon here to, actually, I'm going to turn it over right now. There's nothing more I have to say. I want to thank you for coming. Bathrooms, though, it'd be nice for folks to know. Where are the bathrooms at? You guys know? Somebody know? Out the door that way? Oh, Steve's saying both ways if you need to go. Thanks, Becky. Becky's pointing that way. All right. How about a round of applause for Becky, Megan, and Denise, your staff. Everybody stand up from your office who helped here, okay? We got Paige, we got Chris. You guys stand up. People from Carroll County Economic. These guys really helped to put this place together when we first got here, so thank you so much. So get ready for an excellent meeting, and that being said, I'm going to turn things over to our MC of the day, and that's the chair of our board for this year and the executive director of Carroll County Public Libraries, and a really wonderful person, Miss Andrea Bursler. Andrea, all yours, dear.
Thank you. Thank you. It's quite a... I go up and down that a couple more times to get all my steps in. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andrea Bursler. I am the Executive Director for Carroll County Public Library, and it has been my delight over the last year to be the chair for the Chamber Board. This is my last official Chamber luncheon as chair of the board, so this is the last time you all have to see me up here. So I'm going to say please turn off or silence your cell phones so we don't disrupt our speakers. And I want to take this time to thank the Community Media Center, Richard and his staff, for taping today's lunch for those who can't make it. We also want to thank ACNB Bank, as they are the sponsor of today's meeting, and we'll hear from them in just a few minutes. And we want to thank Denise Beaver and the Carroll County Economic Development Department for partnering with the Chamber and hosting this wonderful event. And I hope this is the first of many more events where these two organizations are going to get to work together.
Yeah, I'll do a little applause.
And finally, there we go. And finally, thank you all for taking some time out of your very busy days to be here with us. So we have a few elected and appointed officials that we want to recognize. So when your name is called, please just stand up and give a quick wave. Our commissioners are not here today. They are, I believe, at a bond sale, so none of them could make it. We have a few members of our Board of Ed, though. Our Board President, Marcia Herbert, is here. Our Vice President, Tara, I have a cold. Tara, Battaglia. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I struggled on that. Well, Tara, you get an extra special introduction just for that. And also, board member Steve Whistler is here. We have with us Tawnytown City Councilman Chris Tillman. Did I miss any other elected officials? We good? Okay. Past chairs of the board, would you please stand? Lori Blake from Fuchs. Lori? Steve Aquino. There you go. Our only two-time board chair. I have no desire to follow in your footsteps there, Steve. It can be all you. And Steve Wance from Carroll Community College. Did I miss any past chairs? Okay. Nice job putting these all together. So now we are going to hear from our sponsors, ACNB Bank and CMC. So first I'm going to ask our representative from ACNB Bank to join me up here. ACNB Bank Executive Vice President and Maryland Market President, Mark Blackston. Mark? And if you're all right with it, I'm just going to stand over here.
That's perfect.
I don't trust that.
Oh, it's a little loose. First off, how about a round of applause for our chairman? It's a big commitment to do this, and you've done an incredible job. I've had the privilege also serving on the board with Andrea and the team, and she just does an amazing job. She's an amazing leader and just is so passionate about what we do here in Carroll County. So, round of applause.
Thank you.
But good afternoon, and thank you for the kind introduction. Again, my name is Mark Blackson. I've been a banker here for many, many years. I currently serve as the Maryland Market President for AC&B Bank, a bank that's been around since 1857. You would have known us through the acquisition of New Windsor Bank about, since 2017. So we've been in the community since well before that, but proudly serve the banking services throughout the county. In fact, for those of you, just a little history, there are about 10 banks left in Carroll County that are operating out of about 39 offices. Of those 10 banks, 8 of them are what I would call your larger, bigger, multi-state, multi-region mega banks. There are 2 remaining small community banks that cover Carroll County, and we are fortunate to be one of those offices. And we have 5 offices throughout the county too, right here in Westminster. So really proud of the work that we do from a community bank perspective, and we thank you for the many years of support that you've given us. So I thought I'd start off by just saying one quick thing. So I often get asked, like, banks are banks. Sometimes they feel like a utility. They're functional. People don't often think about it. I think I said this the last time I was up here was, you don't wake up and think about like, oh, what's going on with my bank today? I mean, you just kind of go about your day and don't think about it, unless you have a problem, right? But I often get asked, like, what's the difference of, what makes a community bank special? I get that question. Our colleagues get that question quite a bit. So I thought I'd just maybe share a few comments about, what makes a community bank different. First and foremost, one is local decisions. That's a real thing. When you have folks that are from here and love the community that we serve, being part of local decisions that affect, your mortgage, how we handle your accounts, referring you to our insurance company that we have, all those things are important, and there's a real human element to it. And what goes hand in hand with that is accountability. So when we make those decisions, they affect businesses like you, and they affect real people like all of us. And we see you. I'm here today. I'm going to run into you, and we might have made a decision about something, and we're going to see you here at this event, or I'm going to see you on the soccer field. I just ran to Peggy. It was great reconnecting with Peggy, but I used to see her. Our kids played sports together, and we're seeing each other on the fields all the time. So we're very accountable for the types of things we do. We're going to see us. Real relationships is another thing that's really important. We all know that when we have that issue, I'll just use an example of like Amazon. If you have an issue with Amazon, do you get to talk to a person? Sometimes it could be an issue. You're waiting for an email, or you're waiting for a response to the chat. That's not how we work at a community bank like AC&B. We're here to handle issues, handle problems if there are any, but you have somebody to talk to and someone to phone call if you need to talk to anybody. Deep roots. A lot of our team members are from here. I'm born and raised in Carroll County, and very proudly so. Went through the school system here. Been having some great conversations with some community members on things I've done with folks over the years. But that's a really important thing. And then most importantly, what we really are proud of is community banks really, really give back to the community. Events like this that we get a chance to, be just a small part of what's being talked about today. But also, we serve on a lot of boards, we serve in committees, we volunteer. We're not just out there to just write a check, but really kind of dive into different organizations. So we're really proud of the work that we do, and are able to kind of full circle give back to the community that supports us. And lastly, it's just putting a big impact in the county. So when you invest in a bank, or you have your banking account at a place like AC&B Bank, those dollars stay here in the community. Larger banks, they also have a great program with their communities, but they have a bigger pool of areas that they take your money, and then they can spread that out across wider areas. But with a community bank, that comes back right here to the community that we serve. So there's just a couple things that separate what a community bank is versus some of the larger banks that we often get asked about. So, took up a lot of time. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I wish everybody an amazing Thanksgiving, and thank you again for the opportunity to just highlight a couple things about AC&B. Thank you.
So I guess as Mike is want to say, shop local, you want to bank local, right? That's right. All right, very good. Thank you very much. All right, so our other sponsor then, our media sponsor, is the Community Media Center, and they partner with the Chamber extensively over quite a number of years now. Films, streamed events, and so the entire community can watch them, which is great. Richard is the Executive Director of CMC and the Chair-elect of the board. So we want to make sure he stays happy and healthy for at least another 2 or 3 months here. So Richard, if you would come up, say a few words, thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. I want to make this really short. I appreciate everything that Andrea's done in your service and term as chair, and I'm really looking forward to being the chair. Keeping Mike in rain, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. All right. But I really appreciate everything that the Chamber does. Having this kind of opportunity to talk about economic development is critical. What we do, you might not know that from the Community Media Center's perspective, we believe we're part of economic development. We are telling the story of what's going on in Carroll County. And just to give you an example, we just covered the highlights of what happened with the Liberty soccer teams, boys and girls, and went to the state championship. We were the only local television station there covering that story. And it shows, and now it brings to the other players of the field and other players in the state the chance to see us in action. So our streams, we're not just on cable, we are streaming on YouTube. We're now, by the way, they changed our channel on cable. So if you were looking at 1086, you won't find us there anymore. We're on 1072 on cable now. But of course, you can find us on YouTube, and we're streaming on Facebook. And we enjoy the partnership of the kinds of activities that are going on in the community. How many of you went to the Piedmont Reliability Project informational session? All right, I see a couple hands out there. You were among the 1,000 that were in attendance, obviously an important issue. And we felt it was very, very important for us to stream the entire event so that you could hear not the whole story, not just the news excerpts, but you had the opportunity to really hear what the passion in our community is and the rationale, not just the emotion, about why that project has deep, deep concerns in our community. And so it was proud for us to be able to provide that as a community service. So with that, my call, first of all, is a thank to our crew that does everything that makes that happen. Small crew, dedicated, but not only buy local, but watch local. All right?
Thank you. We are fortunate to have a organization like the Community Media Center, who does do so much to promote our what's happening locally, and just keep people connected when they cannot be there in person. So thank you, Richard, you and your team. We are fortunate to have two wonderful speakers today. First off, we will hear from Denise Beaver, Director of Carroll County Economic Development. Denise will speak about the local economic development updates and initiatives here in Carroll. After Denise presents her comments, she will introduce Jennifer Vey, who is the Executive Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer of the Greater Baltimore Committee. So please join me in welcoming Denise Beaver to the stage.
It's a step. Definitely a step. Thank you all for being here today. I'm very excited to be here along with the Greater Baltimore Committee. This is the first time that we've done an event like this, and as you'll learn, it's very important for Carroll County to be connected to the Greater Baltimore region, and there's many wonderful assets that we have here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Carroll County's economy first and what's going on. And we have a good story to tell, and I know Jennifer will be excited to hear some of the things that we're sharing, and as we're working together with them to help them to tell our story as well throughout the region. We did just refresh our brand. It is Grow Better Here, which is our new tagline, and I feel very strongly about that. I think a lot like Mark. I'm not a local resident. I wasn't born here, but I have adopted Carroll County in my heart. I think that individuals grow better here, families grow better here, our communities, our farms, our ag products, our businesses, and our communities, and I really feel very strongly about that. And so I hope you'll embrace our new brand and share that with everyone, because I think it is true for all of us that live here and know Carroll County that we know the quality that's here and we love it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our Carroll County economy. We have a great story to tell. The reason that the commissioners can't be here today, they were going to be in attendance, but they are at a bond sale. So at the end of October, myself, along with Commissioner Kyler and County Administrator Roberta Wyndham, and Budget Director Ted Zaleski and Comptroller Jenny Hobbs traveled to New York, and we did some presentations about Carroll County to the 3 bond rating agencies, Moody's, S&P Ratings, and Fitch. And they all went very well, and we came back and we were feeling really good about it because we do have a really good story to tell. And what we found out last week is that they reaffirmed our AAA bond rating. And that is really good news for all of us. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So today, they're actually at the bond sale, so they have to be there to get the best deal on the bonds, and that, of course, helps government provide the government services for schools and roads and infrastructure at a more reasonable rate. You know, if you have the highest rating, you get the best deal. And apparently last year, I think Chris was telling me, they had so many different offers, you know, that they had to go through because we have a AAA rating. So that makes us much more attractive for the lending institutions. So some things that they said, and you can go online on the comptroller's webpage, and all of these actual reports from the rating agencies are there. And they talk about the things that they reviewed for us, and they have very strict metrics that they go through to review government agencies. And they said that our outlook was very stable. They said that we had strong development and economic metrics that they were appreciative of, and that we have very positive finances and conservative fiscal management. And I know that may be frustrating to some people and different organizations in the community, but believe me, I think you should be very proud of the fact that local government are good stewards of your tax revenue. And they do a really good job to manage it very well. So that's really a good news story to tell. So one of the things, my role there was to talk about the strategic economic development assets. And the big thing for Carroll County that we always tout and talk about really are you people, all of the smart people that live here and work here, the workforce. We have a lot of companies that have moved here in the past couple of years that, one of the reasons they say, we hear you have a really good workforce and they're very productive. And so, we have over 40% of the population that has over a bachelor's degree. There are 96,000 workers that are available in the community. So that's one thing that we really strongly tout and advertise and talk about is our workforce. So that was one. Of course, where we're located, it's always location, 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 and being in the Greater Baltimore Region gives us, all of those wonderful assets that are surrounding us. And we do have the Carroll County Regional Airport, which is an asset for us, and the county's undergoing a safety enhancement project to extend the runway. We have a variety of industrial sites that we showcase, and I'll talk about a few of those projects in a little bit. And then Carroll County was a leader in investing in middle mile broadband infrastructure. Carroll Broadband, connected all of our schools. As early as 2007, we started building out a middle mile fiber optic infrastructure, and we overbuilt it. So now we have some capacity to sell that and lease that to other parties that are interested, ISPs or other providers, or even directly to companies if they want to connect company to company. So that Carroll Broadband investment, I think early on, really positioned us well now because the federal government and the state, if you've been following along, they stood up a state broadband office, and they're funneling a lot of other money down to local jurisdictions. It's a big issue to be able to connect every business, every home, and Carroll County is well positioned to do that. So when we go up to New York and actually here, and we talk about our Carroll County pillars, and I think there's a couple people here in the room that work at some of these institutions. We have educational institutions, we have manufacturers, we have distribution companies, we have healthcare institutions that are here, that have been here, some for over 100 years. And these are what we consider our pillars of our local economy. And they have been long-standing. Many of them have continued to grow and expand. And they, provide the basis for our local economy. And then there's spill-off and, other companies that work with them and suppliers that supply them. And of course, all the jobs that they provide in the community. So this is something that is very important to Carroll County, and we talk about as the baseline of our economy. When you look at the rest of our economy, we have about 85% of our jobs are in the private sector. And we have over 4,600 businesses that are here. And this is a breakdown. You probably can't see some of the side information, but I'll tell you, top one is trade, transportation, and utilities, and then we have education and healthcare and professional and scientific occupations. So I keep saying we have a lot of really smart people, obviously, that live here, work here, and that are available to work, and that are making our local companies be very effective. So this is kind of a snapshot of the local industry. The other thing that we talked about and that we're very proud of is our continued investment in business development and business support. And we've done some new things this last year. One of them is, over the years, we keep hearing, that there's some big projects that might, go through the development review process, and they're, it's kind of a little slow, it's a little cumbersome, and, it might be an issue. And so we talked about that again with the Board of Commissioners, and they agreed that we were going to reinstitute a priority permitting process. So if we have a large project that has significant economic impact and job creation, we will write that up. We will go to the Board of Commissioners. I go along with Chris Hine, who's the Director of Planning and Land Management, and we say, we think this is, an important enough project that we want to give it priority review when it comes into the county, because there's a lot of boxes that need to be checked and things that need to be reviewed, and there's a lot of projects that are coming in, and we just don't want a very important project to get lost in the shuffle. So they have agreed to do that, and so now we have that, and I think we have a couple that are in the queue that they have agreed to make priority reviews. So that's really important, and that's new this year. We've worked over the years with the Industrial Development Authority. It's our private arm that does buying and selling of land for the county so that we can develop property, so that we have ready property available with infrastructure for projects that might come to us. We have some finished sites which are available. We have some flexible incentives that the Board of Commissioners gives us each year through the budgetary process that we can provide to projects, maybe a relocation project or an expansion project that we can offer to the company to help move the project along. We also reinstituted the Enterprise Carroll program for small businesses, and that is a program that we had done probably about 10 years ago where for small businesses under 50, if they're struggling or if they're planning to do a new project and, buy a new piece of equipment or, embark on a new CRM or operating system, maybe they need some financial assistance to do that. So they can call our office and we can look at helping them with that. We do outreach retentions, visits all the time. We have our workforce center here. Heather and Stan are here from the Carroll County Workforce Development Center, and we offer no-cost assessment, no-cost training, and recruitment events all the time. And Darren's here, small business. Now, should I bring out downtown Darren, maybe? Darren Payton is our small business consultant, and so he offers no-cost counseling and training to the small businesses, and he has hours in our office as well as can meet you wherever you want. So one of the things we decided to do is to support the local passport program in all of the towns, but we also wanted to get Darren's name out there a little bit more so that people knew that he was there and available for consulting. So we created Downtown Darren. So you might see Downtown Darren at one of 240 stores on Main Street. And so I'm gonna borrow Mike's, drumbeat and say shop local. But if you're actually out at a local Main Street store and you see Downtown Darren, you can take your photo with him and say, I was here at Roxall with Downtown Darren, and then you can put it on the Carroll County Downtown's Facebook page, and you have a chance to win $50. So there's Darren out and about. So that's just one of the fun things that we're trying to do. We're really trying to focus a lot on small business. We love Main Streets. Bonnie works with the Main Street. Bonnie Staub, who's our tourism manager, works with the Main Street coordinators on a regular basis, and we really do support them. We also have agricultural business development, and Diana Hare-Jones in our office is our ag development specialist. It's our #1 industry and really important. And during Economic Development Week, we went out with the commissioners and visited over 20-some different ag operations, just really to thank them for doing business here in Carroll. And of course, tourism, as I mentioned, is part of our department, and the Carroll County Farm Museum. So we offer all of those different comprehensive business supports. As I said, we have a strong workforce pipeline and a strong workforce, and we're focusing on apprenticeships. If you talk to Heather and Stan and Scott in our workforce center, it's all about apprenticeships. And the school system, we're working very closely with Carroll County Public Schools and Carroll Community College, and really pushing apprenticeships because that's the way to build the pipeline. And so if any of you are interested, please talk to Heather and Stan about that. We're very excited about the Career and Tech Center's expansion. It's beautiful. This is just a little snapshot of the front of their building. If you haven't been over there, you might want to take a tour. It's a beautiful facility. And very excited, I saw Kelly here, I don't know where she is, but there she is. I'm very excited about the community college's Ratcliffe Applied Trades Center that's going to be developed to be able to provide training in manufacturing and construction, transportation, and warehousing. So that's building our pipeline, and that's very important, obviously, to all of our existing businesses. We have a lot of partnerships, regional and state partnerships with Maryland Economic Development Association. I'm on the board there. Actually had a board meeting this morning. We are members of the NIAP Commercial Real Estate Development Association. All of these partnerships with Maryland Department of Commerce, Maryland SBDC, Greater Baltimore Committee, Baltimore Metropolitan Council, Carroll County Chamber, as well as Carroll Community College and the local municipalities and business associations. And that came even more to the forefront during COVID in terms of the community being connected and the community being connected to local government and to us, because those companies that were able to get that information, and we relied on all of our business associations and all of you to be able to get the word out about all of the potential grants that were available. So that was really, really important. Just a few little snapshots on some of the things that we shared at the bond rating presentations in terms of the active development projects. We shared that we have about $107 million in capital investment that's currently going on, building and adding another 291,000 square feet and adding another 385 jobs. These are some of the land development projects that we have. We are looking to the future, and many of these, like the Carroll County Commerce Center, the Tech Park, the West Branch Trade Center in Westminster, they're there. They have some current capacity to be able to take on some new business. And so obviously you'll see many of these things are in the towns and the municipalities where there is the infrastructure. Mount Airy Crossing, we were just down, Paige and I, down to visit with the mayor yesterday at Mount Airy. And that was one of our other goals this year, was to get out and to reestablish the communication with all of the towns. And we had a really good meeting with them and have had with every town that we've visited, so that we can really align what we're doing in economic development with what their goals and priorities are. So with this future land development, there's another potential 2.2 million square feet that's coming online, and another $428 million of investment. So the credit rating agencies really like this kind of stuff. So that's all important to say, that we're looking to the future. Maryland, of course, where we are in Maryland is so important. They have a AAA bond rating as well. We're in the middle of the Washington-Baltimore statistical area, second highest concentration of professional and technical workers, and so highly educated, high income, third largest combined statistical area with a population of over 10 million. So you can't be, probably anywhere better than Carroll County. It's kind of what I say. So we do have a couple challenges, and I'm going to leave you with a couple challenges. So in 2023, there was a study conducted, economic development land study, in preparation for the master plan, which you're starting to hear about, that's happening now in 2025. So they took a look at what are economic drivers, what's our land being used for, different zoning patterns, and all of that. They did a lot of outreach. I don't know if any of you had participated in the public group sessions, but we had some small focus groups, and then we had some larger sessions. But it's going to, the baseline of this report, and again, it's online. You can take a look at it and do a deep dive into it if you'd like. But it definitely provides a baseline, a good baseline for what we need to look at in terms of economic development. And one of the things is that we don't have enough land zoned for industrial or commercial uses. This is a map. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see with the purple, that's the industrial areas, and it's all around the towns, of course, which makes sense because that's where the infrastructure is. And that's why it's so important for us to be in sync and aligned with the towns. So, but what I challenge you to do is, I know we all love Carroll County, okay, but we also have to develop smartly, and we have to have some development to continue to keep Carroll County, you know, the way we want it in terms of the services and things that we need for the population. So we do need to develop. We need to develop in the right way, and so I would encourage you to be in tune with the Carroll County Master Plan. So that's going on right now. It's going to guide the growth and investment over the next 10 years. And it's going to draw on the economic development land study. There also was a housing study, which we all know housing is a really critical issue in Carroll County in terms of affordability. It's going to look at land preservation and transportation. What I'm suggesting is get involved. There's going to be lots of opportunities to getting involved. You each have, there's a little thing on your table, and there's a little QR code. You can find out and follow all along with what's going on with the master plan. It's going to look at where we are now, where do we want to go, and how are we going to get there. And you can be a part of that, and everyone should really be a part of it. It's going to be an 18-month process. You know, it really does determine the future of Carroll County. So I would really suggest that you get involved with that. Andrew Gray is here and Hannah Weber here. They raised their hand. They are from the Department of Planning. They're involved with the master plan. If you have any questions, you know, they can answer that and tell you how more you can get involved. So I think that's it. This is our team. I think our team is here. I mentioned some of them. Paige Sunderland's our deputy director. We have Bonnie Stobbs, our tourism manager. We have Jane Souls, the manager of the Carroll County Farm Museum. We have Chris Weinbrenner, who's marketing and strategic projects. We have Heather Powell, who's Carroll County Workforce Development. Stan Whiteman with Carroll County Workforce Development. Did I miss anybody? I think that's it. So our team is here. We have a great team. I'm really appreciative of them. They're very hard workers, and they're here to serve you. So please call us. This is our contact information if you have any questions. We're going to take questions at the end. So I'm going to transition over now to our next speaker, which is Jennifer Vey. And as you heard, she is the Executive Vice President, and she is the Chief Strategy Officer for the Greater Baltimore Committee. And she has been very instrumental in this whole process. She probably dreams about it at night, eats, dreams, and sleeps the All-In 2035. And I'm really excited, and thank you, Jennifer, for being here today to share this with Carroll County, because it's the first time we've done this, and I think it's really important for us to stay connected with the Greater Baltimore region. I know a lot of you do business in the Greater Baltimore region and vice versa. So Jennifer, thank you.
Thank you. That would have offered a little interest if we all were spilling out over the riser here. So thank you so much, Denise, and thank you to the Chamber for having me here today. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all. So yes, so I'm here today to talk about our All-In 2035 plan. This is the 10-year plan that the Greater Baltimore Committee released last May. So before I get there, though, just kind of curious, how many people know anything at all about the Greater Baltimore Committee? All right, about half the room. Yeah, yes, you know that I'm here right now, fair enough. Well, I want to sort of begin by sharing a little bit about our organization and even about the evolution of the organization over the last few years, because that kind of sets the backdrop for why we even undertook this 10-year planning process. So we are the leading voice for the private sector in the Baltimore region as a whole. And by Baltimore region, we're talking Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Carroll, Hartford, Anne Arundel, Howard, and Cecil counties. So this is really, you know, literally the greater part of this central part of Maryland. It's an organization that's actually been around for quite some time, dates back to the 1950s. It's a partnership or membership organization. And we, you know, our mission has been to provide that economic and civic leadership on behalf of the region as a whole. And we do this by really convening cross sectors of people, all different stakeholders who are involved in one way or another of helping our regional economy thrive. We are an organization, though, that has undergone a lot of change in the last several years. GBC, as I said, has been around since the 1950s, but we had another organization working on behalf of the region, the Economic Alliance of Greater Baltimore, and also had been around for quite some time, not as long as GBC. But that was an organization that worked with all our economic development partners, like here in Carroll County, and did a lot of kind of the research and marketing of the region. But I think the boards of both organizations, going back a few years ago, recognized that if we wanted to be competitive with our other peers, that it made more sense for these two organizations to merge and to focus much more deeply on economic development and truly driving a pipeline of business activity in the region and investing in all those kind of wraparound efforts that I'll talk about in our 10-year plan that really support the economy as a whole. So the two organizations merged together, hired our new CEO, Mark Anthony Thomas, who started just about 2 years ago, December of 2022. And so we've been in the process, actually, the last couple of years, in many ways, rebuilding this organization. Hiring new people like myself, other senior staff throughout. I have a new staff member who's here today, Patrick Hosford, who came out of Innovation Tulsa, just moved to the region, and we're very excited to have him. So we are growing so that we can build our capacity to do this work on behalf of folks like yourselves. So why, coming back to this kind of why around what good regional organizations do and why it was so important, I think this merger was so important, is that our peers across the country are really working to shape our regional business identity. Who are we as a region from an economic development standpoint, and making sure that we're kind of branding who we are economically at a national level and even an international level. We're educating the full market on those policies and investments that we need to generate growth in our region. We're tracking those kind of investment opportunities, and then we're really galvanizing stakeholders around how can we be a more competitive place. And this is just, you know, we just threw this up here to just show that, again, we have, other regions in the country do this. Many of them do it very, very well. I think better than, frankly, we've traditionally done it here in the Baltimore region. And so I think with with the merger and with us building this capacity and continuing to work with our county leaders, our county economic development officials, as well as the private sector, this will allow us to just be a stronger presence and ultimately help grow the economy here in the Baltimore region and be as competitive, hopefully more competitive than many of our other peers. So that leads me to this 10-year economic development plan. So when Mark came on 2 years ago, the first thing he did is say, okay, well, what are we all about? What's our agenda going to be? And laid out what we refer to as our multi-year agenda. And that laid out a whole series of things sort of categorized around economic development, transportation, infrastructure, and then something we call collective impact, which is sort of a whole bunch of other initiatives that we want to work on with stakeholders in the region that help drive us forward. Top of that list, that multi-year agenda list, which was basically like, here's what we're going to do in the next 2 to 3 years, was we need a 10-year plan. We need a plan that's going to kind of be our guidepost for what we want to do as an organization over the next decade. The vision statement is pretty simple, but each of these words I think you'll see reflected: innovation, creativity, inclusive economic opportunity, through the plan, which I'm just going to give you the highlights of. I will pause to note there were some, I didn't bring copies for everyone. I just brought a bunch of copies if you want to grab one. If you didn't grab one, it is available online. You can download it in full. We also have an executive summary if you just want the quick and dirty version of it. So importantly, I want to note that this isn't a plan that we developed to just say, hey, a bunch of people should go do a bunch of things in the region. This is a plan for the Greater Baltimore Committee working with our partners throughout the region. And so that means that we have a role as an organization in every piece of the plan. In some cases, we're leading different efforts, and I'll talk a little bit about some of those. In some cases, we're partnering with others. And in others, we may not be doing either of those things really, but we want to be a supportive of organizations and stakeholders throughout the region in areas that we know are of importance to the region and that they care about, and that we can come in behind with our support. And that support, or even our partnership, is through a bunch of different lenses. Thought leadership. One, I think the plan itself shows some level of thought leadership. It says this is what we think the region needs to do to move forward. Through our policy and advocacy, that's predominantly at the state level, though there are occasions where if it's something that's important to the region but it's happening locally, we may put some support behind that. Also federal level, frankly. We've got some big infrastructure projects and other things that are important to the region, including rebuilding, say, the Key Bridge. So we want to make sure we have a strong federal presence as well. Communications, communicating our work, communicating research about the region. Convening power, this is in some ways our superpower. It's our ability to set tables, expand tables, to just get things done in the region. And then going after resources, whether that's state resources, federal resources, that again, our region has left a lot of money on the table over the years. We now have that organizing capacity to be able to do that. Okay, so that leads me to the report itself. So to get this report done, we engaged a consultant, TIP Strategies. They were out of Texas, and they, working with me and other staff, we worked together over a period of about 9 months to get this plan out the door. And in that process, they did a lot of number crunching. You can actually we have a whole file. You can do a whole deep dive into this data analysis. It's very easy to use. It's also on our website. Did a lot of that data analysis around the region. Also just did a lot of engagement. We met with all sorts of people in all sorts of different forums and roundtables and workshops and one-on-ones and all sorts of things to get that kind of qualitative insight into the region. And what then was a lot of information to distill, but this is sort of what the kind of the narrative that grew out of that was. And it kind of is around 5 key things. And these are really important because they set up the goals and the strategies that are the kind of the meat and potatoes of the plan. But we didn't, you needed to have that kind of level of research to say, well, what do we do well? What are some of our weaknesses? What are our big opportunities? So that could serve as that guide for the rest of the plan. So a couple big things. One, we know that our region as a whole is a global leader in science and technology. We do research really, really well. We're a pretty innovative place on the whole, but we haven't always done the greatest job strengthening the connections between that innovation expertise and actually translating that into firms and growth. 2, we have a strong logistics industry. We've got BWI as well as regional airports like the one here in Carroll County. We've got obviously a major port. We've got a lot of transportation assets and infrastructure, but we know that the export economy is actually constrained by limited commercial industrial development and underinvested infrastructure. Denise referenced here that the issue with industrial land. Well, we're seeing that in places throughout the region, in fact. And if you don't have the land and you don't have the infrastructure, it's going to limit your capacity. We have a lot of economic momentum, but we haven't been very well coordinated. Relative to our peers, we don't do a good job of understanding the pipeline of investment in businesses, investing in our existing businesses, and also doing a lot of attraction, as a region, on the whole. And so there are ways to do this really well, and this is one of the areas that GBC is really prepared to lead by standing up essentially a whole new apparatus around business recruitment, expansion, and attraction in the region. 4, we have a lot of strong kind of dense areas where a lot of our economy is most concentrated throughout the region, but we could do a better job of actually aligning our economic development ambitions with our land use and kind of place investments. And then finally, we have a large labor pool, pretty highly educated labor pool, but a lot of people are being left out of it. For one thing, we have a lot of people that are kind of sitting on the sidelines of the economy, and even where they're not, we just have some misalignments. We heard this a lot between what employers need and a lot of our worker skills, particularly in certain sectors of the economy. The other thing that we found throughout this process is, we just called out, hey, here's what we do well in the region. Here's kind of the foundational sectors that drive our economy now and we expect in the future as well. I don't think any of these are any big surprise to you, and they looked a little different in different parts of our region, but this is really what drives us forward. But importantly, we also called out that, hey, we think there's some sectors where we have some big opportunity to grow, but that we need to do some more investment in. Life sciences and predictive technologies. If you're aware that we are a regional tech hub through the Economic Development Administration, we were designated as a tech hub. Eventually, hopefully that'll come with some big dollars attached to it, but our center point for that was really around that nexus between AI and healthcare, and even in the manufacturing space around bio as well. And so we know this is a big opportunity, but we need to put our might behind it. Logistics and manufacturing, I referenced this earlier. How do we lift up our strengths in that area by investing in key things like infrastructure and land development? And creativity and culture, which I think in some ways people said, that's an interesting one. But we recognize that, we are a very creative region with a lot of cultural and other assets. Particularly when you look at it, you can see we included a lot in here. We said, aside from just the quality of life, virtues of creativity and culture, these can be big economic drivers, but we need to invest in them. So I'm just going to give you the top highlights of the plan itself. You can do the big deep dive into all the detailed strategies. I'm going to keep it kind of high level. I'll say a few things. One, some guiding principles that undergird the whole plan. We want to be globally ambitious. We want Baltimore to be on the global stage and think that we can get there. Naturally, it's a 10-year plan. It's looking not just how do we keep the status quo, but how are we constantly looking towards the future. Equitable growth. We know that we can't have a successful region if too many people are being left behind as part of that. So how do we make sure that more people are included in our economic development? And the whole point here is this is about regional collaboration. How do we better work together regionally to maximize all our strengths? The plan is then divided up into 3 major goal areas: industry and innovation, place and community, talent and people. I'll briefly hit on each one of these. Again, I'm not going to give you every single strategy, but I'll kind of give the high points of what each of these means. So in goal area 1, in industry and innovation, we have kind of 3 high-level goals, again with more specific strategies within each. But essentially, we want to become that global leader for high-growth entrepreneurship. This relates to things like the tech hub, but even just more broadly when we think about the innovation economy, investing in startups, how do we better grow businesses and grow a diversity of both businesses and businesses that have diverse founders, because we know diversity is really key to innovation. We know that we need to invest in the region's infrastructure if we want to expand that export economy. We know this is an area that, again, we have some challenges in. We have a lot of new infrastructure opportunities. We need to make sure that we're getting those kind of investments. And then, as I noted earlier, we at GBC are going to establish the region's first business retention, expansion, and attraction initiative to be far more aggressive on the regional scale about growing our economy. Place and community. So this is about how are we better aligning our economic development ambitions with what we want to see in our communities. First, how are we doing so at kind of our regionally significant job centers? So, throughout the region, we have some of those densest areas where we have a lot of our jobs and economic activity, and how do we invest further in them? Because we know a fair bit now about, why density of jobs, why density of businesses matters. It matters to workers, it matters to firms, it matters to the workers that you want to attract. It helps with more efficient transportation systems, certainly more efficient from a land use perspective. So how do we double down on those areas? But aside from kind of our most regionally significant centers of activity, there's a lot of other smaller hubs of activity as well. And this includes everything from kind of our urban neighborhood centers and how we make sure those are thriving, but also when you think about places like Westminster or Sykesville or Bel Air and Hartford County, even some of our small towns, how do we make sure that we're continuing to invest in those main streets? Again, because it's great for quality of life, it's great for local businesses, it's great for tourism, it's great for preserving land use. So how do we make sure that our communities are thriving? And then 3, how are we enhancing that multimodal connectivity so that we're making sure that people can connect to jobs, businesses can connect to one another? How are we making sure that we're creating those strong linkages? And then finally, talent and people. Obviously, everything we want to do in the economy is contingent on having a strong workforce. So one, as I called out some of those challenges around certain sectors, how do we do a better job of developing strong sector partnerships? We have a lot of workforce development organizations from public sector to nonprofit. It's a fairly fractured system. We heard a lot of this in our listening sessions. And certain sectors, again, were, bits and pieces, but how do we do a better job making sure that industry has what it needs? And particularly, again, future focus, when we think about the needs moving forward, take things like the construction and trades, right? We have major new infrastructure projects that are coming online. We've got tunnels in Baltimore City. We've got major things happening at the port. We're going to be rebuilding the Key Bridge. We have a major initiative that we're focused on around vacant housing in Baltimore City. We're going to need jobs in that sector. That's just one example. But throughout the economy, how do we make sure we're connecting, making those linkages, reducing structural barriers for those that have unique challenges within the workforce? How are we breaking those down? And then how are we making sure that we're attracting people, right? So it's a lot about growing from within, but also making sure that we're attracting and retaining workers as well. So I'm going to just go through this quickly. Whit Johnson, our Director of Partnerships, wanted to be here today, but he had a family issue and couldn't. But this is just a way to say, look, we want to make sure that you all can engage with us. Again, this sort of highlights our multi-year agenda items, all these things that we're already doing in some key areas. And there are ways, hopefully, that you all can find, to plug in on various pieces of this. We're talking about the plan now. That was, kind of first up in our list. We're developing a regional brand. I see Carroll County has their new brand. We're also very focused, and we've engaged a firm around a regional economic brand. This isn't a tourism brand. This is saying, how do we change the narrative of what the Baltimore region is from an economic standpoint? And that'll be unveiled in the fairly early in the new year, but it'll be other regions. When you start hearing about other regions, why am I hearing a lot about Detroit lately or Pittsburgh or somewhere else? Often it's because they did an effort just like this to get their narrative and their message out there. I mentioned the Tech Hub designation already. Regional Economic Scorecard, one of the things we did last year for the first time was capture all the investment activity and announcements that are coming into our region and putting them in a dashboard. We're going to do the same this year. We're probably going to do it bigger and better. Patrick's going to be taking a lot of our lead on that, but it's an important way to make sure that we're capturing the economic activity that we have and we're telling the world about it. And as part of that, we actually had our first regional investment summit last year as part of, it was a spinoff for Select USA. Again, had never done it before, but we want to get our region out there to say, hey, come look at us as a place to invest. Transportation infrastructure, we're involved in a campaign with the Greater Washington Partnership around making sure that we have a strong transportation infrastructure and staying on top of policy and funding issues related to that. We're on a whole bunch of commissions that are related to ensuring that we have that we're making those kind of investments. And then, as I said, we have a whole bunch of kind of collective impact. We're focused on issues around public safety, particularly in Baltimore City, but not limited to. I mentioned vacant housing. And we've been involved with the Maryland Chamber and others around supports, particularly for small businesses that were impacted by the Key Bridge. And I mention this too because it shows that by having this regional apparatus, we're able to be nimble when there are big challenges or opportunities that arise. As a regional organization, we're able to work with stakeholders from around the region and other organizations to help address those, just like with the Key Bridge collapse. So all these things, again, and some of them you'll say, well, that seems more specific. How's that relevant to Carroll? Well, I mean, again, we are working on behalf of the entire region. And on some of these, even where they might be Baltimore City focused, we know that a strong Baltimore City is also important to a strong region as well. And so we want to make sure that we're kind of hitting on all fronts, again, to make sure that we're as strong and competitive as we can be. So that was a lot to throw at you at once, but I know we're going to have a little bit of an opportunity to take some questions, but hopefully this gives you at least an overview of who we are as an organization and what we're trying to accomplish here in the Baltimore region. Thanks.
Slight change.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're just about out of time. I like to stay as true to you guys as I can. I know a lot of you have other meetings. You got to get back to the job. Our speakers will both stick around for a while. They agreed. So if you want to ask them a question, you can go off to the side and ask them. But I want to say thank you again, Denise and Jennifer. Give them a round of applause. Also, thank you to our friends at the Portico. It's our first time back in a long time. Give them a round of applause. And the food was really good. Salerno's, they do a great job. A nice local restaurant. Buy some gift cards from them and give them out for Christmas. Give them a round of applause, please. Andrea, nice job all year long. If you guys liked what Andrea's done, and who didn't for the course of this year, she will lead one more meeting of ours after the first of the year. We have our State of the County, where all 5 of our commissioners come to the Carroll Arts Center on Main Street, and we pass the gavel from her to Richard, and I think it'll be a pleasant pass. Don't forget to bring it, and don't hit him in the head. But you guys, that's a free meeting to come to. Also, right after the first of the year, we have our legislative kickoff. These are some of the meetings that we do as a chamber. We do our part here in Carroll as well, building relationships. We have a new 501c3 foundation that does a lot of awesome events in the community, like our Outstanding Educator Awards that we've been doing forever. We partner up with the schools. We have a drug awareness expo we do for 8th grade kids. Like 2,500 of them show up at the A, and we do an event where we honor police, fire, first responders. We've been helping out now to do an event which is an amazing women's conference. We don't really plan it, but we do handle the money in and out. But these are things that we are involved in. Do I have anything else? Oh, keep an eye out for the 14th annual Carroll Biz Challenge, our local Shark Tank type show. Applications will be opening up sometime around, I think, February 2nd. And the event itself is in August. So that's a great event. This will be our 14th year. We're accepting applications now for Leadership Carroll. It doesn't start until September of next year, but I've learned take applications when they come in. We've already got like 10 applications in. So if you've never been and you want to go, don't wait until the last minute. You can apply now and you can pay after the first of the year, even in the springtime. Aside from all the great things we do for business, we like to have a lot of fun. You guys can tell. We do a lot of trips. We got back from Egypt in October of last year. We then went to Iceland. We've been to Croatia. In April of this coming year, we're going to Turkey, and we still have some space, Istanbul. But the trip that I'm really excited about, we're going to be announcing it like in a week, is December of next year. We're going to do the Christmas markets in Innsbruck, Austria, and Salzburg and Munich. It's going to be an amazing trip. We'd love you to come. And it's not a trip we do to go and try to get someone to do some actual work with over there. You know, I hear some people say, well, I don't have any business in that area. Well, I don't either, but we just go for the fun of it. So, other than that, we want you to shop local. It's that time of the year now. If you're going to buy, I swear to God, if you're going to buy on Amazon, I'm even on Amazon now because there's things that my grandkids want and I can't find anywhere. I was like, oh God, I'm on Amazon. But don't buy gift cards on Amazon. If you're going to get a gift card, go to a local restaurant somewhere. Go to a local store. You know, spend your money local as much as you possibly can, like that, please. If you want to get your picture with the elf here, can they do it here? Would that count if they get the picture? Oh, come on. All right. Rip off. Anyway, spend your money local. Are there any announcements from the floor? Did I miss any major events coming up anywhere that anybody wants to get a plug in for? Thank you all for coming very, very much. And again, our speakers will be around. What?
The Winter Market.
The Winter Market. You want to tell? Well, then tell them.
So the Winter Market is on December 14th at Carroll Community Chamber are actually sponsoring the event,
Absolutely.
so definitely come on out, television.
We are. Darren, are you going to be there?
I will be there.
All right, I'm selling this for $25. You can get your picture taken with him.
I'll even sign it.
He'll sign it. Any other announcements? Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, okay? Thank you.